streaming live. We're back. We're back. We got it to work and we're back.
Well, good morning.
Wow, let's streaming live. Oh, let's see if I can get, there we go. Okay, we've got that volume off and I see myself dancing on the screen, which I'm sorry, I just subjected everybody to that.
It's all right. It's all right. We've got our branded gear on today. You in your OCR sweater and me in my realtor t-shirt.
Look at us. Look at
We didn't
us.
plan
And the
it.
interesting thing is we have closed captions now happening.
Oh, wonderful.
We don't have anybody here to see them, but we have closed
All right.
captions.
That's all right.
Well, hopefully everybody will get pinged and will join us. And yeah, there we go. Now we got some people hopping on, so I feel better. I'm like, what happened? Yeah, and the crazy thing is Facebook did an update that screwed up the ability to go from Zoom to Facebook, but you didn't know who screwed up. Was it a Facebook thing? Is it a Zoom thing? And it appears that Facebook has done an update now, and it looks like they closed caption, which is going to be really interesting to read this back. They're closed captioning the Facebook Live. So, I mean, I apologize to everybody for last week we weren't here, and we warned you about that. But the week before, when we had the technical difficulties, it took me until yesterday to figure out how to get this fixed. So we try, and we're here. How are you, Lori?
Well, you know, we're here, and it's a Monday morning. Mondays are always hard, just for many reasons. But yeah, I'm excited to be here. I'm tired. I was going through my calendar because you know, in anticipation of our session this morning, what are we going to cover? You know, we pretty much said we were going to do the CAR highlights, but I don't know about you. I was pretty dang exhausted come Friday afternoon.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, you know, it was interesting because I was telling a friend this morning, you know, she's like, hey, let's go out. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. I got to check my calendar. And she's like, well, what are you busy doing? And I'm like, well, if it was normal times, we would have been returning from Sacramento on Saturday and then having a week to get ourselves all adjusted and then hopping on a plane and going to DC. But it's not normal times. And since we don't have these meetings on site, what we used to do in 1 week in person is taking us 2+ weeks to do on Zoom. And I don't know about you, but I'm finally getting some feeling in the old rear end here after last week.
Yes, that too. Yeah, I mean, we normally have a week off in between these conferences, and you know, you and I have both realized Friday afternoon, oh, we have stuff at 8 a.m. come Monday morning. Not anything we were obligated to attend, but something we were interested in attending. So I did attend for an hour. I think they're still going, but I jumped off. But so I was looking through my calendar. So just to give a quick summary of the last 2 weeks, I attended 13 CAR education and forum sessions, as well as 2 full days of Women's Council, attended the NAR 360 session, Legislative Day, which was a 1-day, all day, and I attended all 7 of our legislative representative sessions. And my gardener's power washing my sidewalk in front of my window at the moment, so sorry about that. 2 regional caucuses, 2 board meetings. Oh, and by the way, we had OCR Fair Housing Week for 5 days, which I attended 3.5 of those.
And you had to moderate 2 of them.
I moderated 2 of them.
Which I apologize. But
okay. It's okay. It was all good. I started the week and I ended the week, so that was fun. The CAR town hall. And so in all, I spent 46 hours doing all of that in this chair, in addition to other meetings, other clients, other life responsibilities. So yeah, so I'm tired.
Yeah, and then guess what starts up today?
NAR.
Yay!
Yeah. So like I was saying, I was on the session for an hour. I let's see if it's still going. Yeah, they're still going. I only saw it on the schedule for an hour. It's the professional standards forum. Got some couple good nuggets out of there that I can share because I have not had the time to go through my CAR notes and extract the most relevant stuff. I think I'll talk about the CAR stuff. How's the sound? I mean, can you hear all that, or is it okay? Okay. Okay. So a lot of what we talked about at CAR in sessions that I attended were things that we had already been talking about in this group. The new RPA coming out, and there's a bunch of new forms associated with that, and some new forms for the June forms release, but nothing that we need to talk about immediately because all of that is a little ways away. Even the June release, which it's May 3rd today, so June is just a few weeks away. I had to flip my calendar yesterday because I was like, oh yeah, it's May. And risk management, a lot of the same things we've been talking about with our transactional challenges. It's all across the state and it's all across the country. We're not unique in our market. We did talk about a lot of legislative things. I don't know anything that's like hot off the press we need to share at this moment because
it's not a darn thing sticking with me, that was just like, this is earth-shaking stuff. Yeah. There's a lot of housing legislation buzzing around, but is it going to affect us today? No. I don't think that there was a single thing discussed on the political front that would affect us today.
Yeah, agreed. And, a lot of it is we have to wait and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So the couple things, though, that I can share, unless you have anything else to cover for CAR.
No, the only thing that well, actually, it was interesting now that I'm thinking about it. Number one, my bunch of meetings is very similar to Lori's. However, there's a few things that I do that she doesn't do, and a few things she does that I don't do. And I'm on the Communications Advisory Committee, which is really it's really fun. It's a lot of fun. I love that committee. But one thing to be on the lookout for is we have a new ad campaign out that actually, they had a couple of commercials during the Oscars. They had a commercial during the NFL football draft. I mean, we're getting some serious placement, and it's just to kind of remind everybody, hey, California, let's do this together, and really kind of a nice piece. So there's going to be collateral out there on the car.org website that if you want to market stuff along with this commercial, it's available out there. So that's kind of a cool thing. We did a lot of talk about, what our members, like, what would they want to do? We're going to be having a branding summit on August 25th. And by branding, I don't mean cattle branding, and I don't mean corporate branding. We're talking about what agents can do to help brand themselves. So we're going to be having panels. I was pushing for having the OG panel, who are good, long-term farmers that are still out there rocking it after all of these decades. And, everybody's like, well, the youngsters, blah, blah, blah. And like, no. we need some original gangsters here, so we'll have a panel on that. We're going to have different ways to get yourself comfortable with social media, videos. Everybody still hates doing videos, but hopefully we'll have some good tips, and we're going to be doing that. Plus we're going to be having the Reimagine conference is going to still be virtual. They're not going to do it live. So just be prepared. We have way better attendance on Zoom things than we ever do live. So they're going to stick with that virtual for one more year, and we'll do that. And I see a comment come in, which we'll have to touch on this because it's the topic du jour, which is how do you feel about Glide being purchased? Because of course that happened while we were at CAR.
Yeah, the announcement was right in the middle. The announcement officially hit right in the middle of the member forum, so that was fun.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, that happened. Mm-hmm. But we'll get to that in a little bit. So what else happened at CAR? Anything else besides Glide?
Um,
We had lots of discussions about a lot of things that really wouldn't impact people on a daily basis. They were more board of directory kind of things, directing staff, not so much, what's going to affect the realtor every day. So, we have a lot to do, a lot to talk about, but not a lot of stuff that anybody would really be interested in us reporting. That's what I think. What do you think,
yeah,
Laura?
I agree with that. That's why I was struggling to think, what are the items that we spent a lot of time talking about that really are relevant to people who just want to be informed about conducting their business. We did get an update, but I believe I already reported on this, that CAR has been in conversation with the Department of Public Health to talk about expanding our guidelines. And so that conversation has happened. The message that was relayed back to us was that they are very understanding. They see in all industries, the guidance can open up. However, the final verdict has not been set, and the guidelines have not been changed. So as of today, business as usual until we hear otherwise. But it was good news to hear that those conversations happened, and the Department of Public Health does understand that, hey, as we open up in other industries, we can look at some of our activities and directly compare them to activities in other industries that have more freedoms than we currently have. So they were very hopeful that we'll see something. The question mark is when. And, so one of the big questions is, well, if the governor is still saying June 15th, we're reopening the state, will that automatically open up everything we can do? And the answer is we don't know yet. We don't know yet. So, we're still 6 weeks away from that. I think that we will begin to hear what some of that guidance, how it might change. But until it does, business as usual.
Yep, absolutely.
And by usual, I mean the current
usual.
The current usual.
Yeah, the new normal, which we hope to be the old normal in a little over a month. So yeah, just keep following the rules, kids. I mean, there's still germs, there's still whatever, I know a lot of people are getting brave with the vaccines and stuff like that, but we still have to realize we're going into people's homes. And, and hopefully, I just kind of thinking about it. I always go off on these random things, but, I hope that once the state opens back up, that we take into consideration working when we're not feeling well, showing clients when they're not feeling well, allowing people into people's homes where they're not feeling well. And it's not just COVID. We're talking about flus, colds, there's been so many times over the years that people will say, oh, I know that you want to do this showing today, but my kid has the flu. We'll just, shut their door. And it's like, I'm not in a house where some kids got the flu, and it's, before it was just like, how bad do my clients really want to go in there and see it, but now it's like, oh, I'll wear that mask and whatever, because I don't want to get somebody's funk. And I think we still need to remember there's funk out there. We've kind of eradicated a lot of funk, but once we take masks off and start spewing our funk at each other, we're going to be right back kind of where we were. So hopefully everybody's going to be a little bit more cognizant of when they're not feeling well, and taking that time to say, you know what, I don't think today's a good day. And that would be a nice business practice for the rest of us to keep up, I think.
Agreed. I think that's a really important point. I haven't heard anybody else mention that. So that's a very good point.
Yeah, it's just one of those things you always kind of wish people would wear masks on airplanes.
Yeah, well, and we experience it at conferences. I mean, how many times are we sitting in a room with 100 people, or even the board, 600, 700, 800 people, and you hear cough, cough. I mean, it's like almost like a laugh track of, coughing, because you just hear it. And then when you feel it on the back of your neck, oh,
Well, and I can track back the last 3 times that I really got really super sick, that I know exactly who gave it to me and where we were. And one was at a CAR meeting, and the other one was at the local association in a committee meeting. And it was 2 people that shouldn't have been there. It was 2 people that were obviously running fevers and were not doing well. And both of them spewed on me. Boy, did I get the funk. I got funk in my face. It was disgusting. I'm sitting there just going, how, how could you do this? How could you sit here and come in running a fever, cough literally in my face, say your piece and say, I'm going home because I don't feel good. You know, that's the height of being inconsiderate. And
Yeah, you're not a hero just because you dragged yourself out of bed, got dressed, and went to a meeting and then exposed everybody.
well, and you know, that's the glory of Zoom. You know, I mean, I think more meetings could be had where if you want to come in person, great, come in person. But we were also doing it virtually at the same time, and let the people, you know, that don't feel well or can't make the trip or whatever, still be able to participate in the meetings. I mean, there's some really good stuff that can come from this, but we just kind of have to be open-minded. But anyhow, so you were in the Pro Standards meeting this morning, weren't you?
Yeah, so they were talking about standard of practice 10-5, which we know is the hate speech. And they had a couple of case studies to share. And so I took screenshots, so bear with me. I'm not going to show it. I'm using my other computer, but I'm going to kind of summarize. I didn't screenshot the first one. The first one was a slam dunk. Somebody on social media just outright discriminating against a protected class, and the hearing panel. I'm trying to think of the word. The hearing panel reviewed it, and their conclusion was, yeah, this is a direct violation of 10-5. I could have sworn I heard cheering. But the way they're broadcasting it is if you're on the committee, which I'm not, if you're on the committee, then you were on Zoom and had the ability to go off mute. And then if you're not on the committee, you're watching it through this third portal. And so you don't have access to speak, raise your hand or anything. And I'm pretty sure I just heard like a clapping track with that one. Maybe it was just my imagination, or maybe that's what I wanted to hear. I don't know. But that one was a clear-cut case. So the second one, though, was use of harassing speech on the basis of political affiliation. So this was an interesting one. So I'm gonna read it. Realtor A was a registered member of a political party, Y, and routinely engaged in political discussions on social media and in private conversations. Realtor A's conversations and social media posts often included insulting, intimidating, and hostile statements about members of political party Z, a different party, including aggressively insulting their intelligence, implying they were unpatriotic, and telling them that if they disagreed with him, they should leave the country. Realtor B witnessed numerous instances where Realtor A harassed others on the basis of their membership in political party Z and believed that Realtor A was using harassing speech. He filed an ethics complaint with the local AOR alleging Realtor A violated Article 10 as interpreted by Standard of Practice 10-5. So the complaint was reviewed by the association's grievance committee, who examined the allegations to determine whether, if taken as true, they would constitute a violation of the Code of Ethics. Ultimately, the grievance committee dismissed the complaint, as the complainant's sole argument was that Realtor A had discriminated against individuals based on their political affiliation with Party Z, and political affiliation is not a protected class under Article 10. So the allegations in the complaint, even if true, could not constitute a violation of the Code of Ethics. So that was the outcome I expected, because we know there is no protection for a political party. However, just understand, people are watching and reporting these things because they are believing it to be hate speech. And in some regard it is, but it's not against a protected class. Now, that doesn't mean that this couldn't have gone further, where then it became hate speech against a protected class, because that could happen. And I think we've seen that happen in the past, where it starts out one kind of conversation and then it evolves to another conversation. Any thoughts?
Yeah, because NAR Code of Ethics 10.5, since it's national, is federally protected classes.
Yes.
But in California, the NAR, 10.5 is not going to be, special in California. But in California as a whole, with our 22 protected classes, number 22 being any arbitrary group. And I think that at some point, at least in California, that could possibly get somebody in hot water. Can they say that the 10.5 ethics violation is going to stick? No, because it's a state law. But it's not a good look, number one, to be hauled in because you're spewing crap. And I just saw a member of our local association post something. Well, they didn't post it, but they were ranting. They were at a political fundraiser and they were ranting to somebody. What they said could be construed as hate speech. They may not know that that's all over Twitter. They may not have any idea that that is all over Twitter.
Their rant is all over Twitter.
And I sent it to somebody in a position that could possibly do something with this person, because this person needs to be told, you can't walk around and say stuff like that. Because even if you don't post it yourself, everybody's got a cell phone. Everybody's taking pictures. Everybody is recording. And this person probably really didn't think it was going to end up all over Twitter. So be careful out there. Yeah, we all get heated. This is an unhealthy, there's two overheated, unhealthy markets right now. And it's the housing market and the political, everybody's still got their panties in a wad market. And, just be careful, because what I saw this weekend, I didn't go looking for it. I purely stumbled across it.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh my God, this is somebody I know saying ridiculous things. I'm not going to repeat any of them. I'm not going to say who it is, but watch what the hell you're doing out there. Take a deep breath and calm down before you start spewing crap at people, because somewhere, somehow, this will probably come back and haunt people on a local basis because of what we have going on in our state and hearing all about this rule. People will hear about the rule, see the stuff going on in our state. They'll be filing stuff. Yeah, will it get thrown out? But who's got time for that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a cost in your time to defend it, and it's just not a good look. I mean, if you may have a circle of people who agree with your point of view. However, there are going to be people that see it that don't agree with it. And so if your hope is to try to win over strangers to become clients, and they see that kind of behavior, they might really love you or they might really hate you. So, I guess you have a 50-50 chance, but, it's just not a good look. I mean, in this case, sounds like the person was video recorded, but in another case, when you take the time to type something out, I don't know.
Yeah,
that's like premeditated.
Pam put in a good remark saying, don't comment on the post or you're part of it.
Yeah. That's a very good point.
Yeah,
That's
that is a very good point. And yeah, it's just something that's gonna, word will get out, and people, hopefully people don't do this, but I don't, the person that was recorded, I don't know if they even know that this is out there.
Um,
It was somebody who did not agree with their position, who video recorded the person spewing theirs, and then posted it on another site. So, you may think that, oh, well, I said this, but it's not going to pop up. Well, I'm sure once that person finds out it popped up, maybe they know and maybe they don't care. I don't know. But like you said, and I'm going to say maybe 1/3 of the people are going to be cool with what you said. Another third are going to be, appalled. And then you got the third that's looking saying, do I want to work with somebody who's this hot-headed and unstable? Whether you agree with them or not, it's like, wow, this person can't control themselves.
yeah. And, we've seen it on both sides. We've seen, when we look at our traditional political parties, we've got two parties and we've seen this behavior on both sides. So, yeah. So I just thought it was fascinating that they had these case studies, and what's going to happen with these case studies. So these were real cases that then NAR looks at and uses them to help with interpretations. And so they kind of use these as a guideline, just like when we have lawsuits, we say, well, there's a precedent because their lawsuit number, whatever, covered that exact same topic, or you use it as a basis to help make a decision. So these, if approved by the committee later today, then will be up on NAR's website as part of the total interpretations package or section within NAR that all of us have access to view. So, which I didn't realize they had that accessible to us to look at these different case studies. So that was interesting. So the next one they talked about was use of harassing speech against protesters. So the case goes like this: a group of protesters supporting the equal treatment of women gathered peacefully for a march in Washington, D.C. The group requested and was approved for the appropriate permits, and while local law enforcement was on site to provide assistance, no criminal activity was reported. Realtor A, in response to the march, posted on social media, quotes, "These morons have nothing better to do than come all the way to Washington to gripe about a problem that doesn't even exist. This is why women shouldn't be allowed to leave the house." At that point, the chair of the committee, I think it was the chair of the committee, went, ouch, out loud.
Where is this guy? I want to set him straight.
He continued, though, get back in the kitchen where you belong.
He didn't say, make me a sandwich, did he?
No.
Just checking. Okay. That would have been a bridge too far.
Yeah. Power washing is back. Realtor B saw Realtor A's comments and filed a complaint with their local AOR, alleging Realtor A's comments against the protesters constituted harassing speech against members of a protected class, and as such were in violation of Article 10, Standard Practice 10-5. The committee forwarded it to a hearing. So at the hearing, Realtor B, the one that said all that, argued that Realtor A's comments, hold on, who's who? Realtor B argued that Realtor A's comments constituted objectivity, harassing speech against individuals on the basis of sex. In response, Realtor A argued that his comments were directed at protesters, which are not a protected class, and that in fact, the group was comprised of both men and women. So in their decision, the hearing panel did address that, yes, he was commenting to both men and women, but his disparaging comments and discriminatory comments were against women, which are protected class for gender, for sex. So that one, he was found to have violated the code of ethics. Interesting. So I thought it was interesting because, somebody so openly discriminated against, but then tried to generalize it by saying, well, I was addressing my comments to both genders, therefore it wasn't discriminatory. But in reality, the words he used, what are you laughing so hard about?
I'm just thinking about it. Well, I'm saying all these horrible things about women, but I said it to men and women, so that makes it
okay. Right, that was his argument.
I mean, I've heard a lot of crazy things, but that's yeah, okay. I'm sorry. Continue.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of skimming through. Okay, so that was it. So apparently there were comments in the chat, asking, what type of discipline were these people given? And so when they send up the interpretations, these scenarios, they don't provide the discipline, and honestly, that's confidential anyway. So they don't provide that, and they reiterated the menu of options that they can choose from, which is just a letter of warning, letter of reprimand, further disciplinary action such as classes, and sanctions of fees up to $15,000. So although we don't know specifically, what happened in each of these cases, any one of those could have been decided. I also found it interesting because part of what was changed when they updated Code of Ethics last year was they updated the definition of public trust. And I had completely forgotten about this. And so part of NAR's bylaws, and hopefully I get this right, part of the bylaws dictate that certain violations that violate the public trust have to be reported to state agencies that it falls under. And so previously, the public trust definition included fraud and things related to licensing law and misappropriation of client funds. So they added to that definition that discrimination related to a protected class. So what this means is if there's a complaint and a hearing and it doesn't fall within this definition of public trust, so let's say it's, I'm trying to think of an example. I can't think of anything. You failed to give your client a copy of something. That doesn't really fall in fraud and misappropriation of funds. So if you failed to give them a copy of the listing agreement, that doesn't necessarily have to be reported to the Department of Real Estate. The association is not obligated to report it. However, they can. And so when it comes to what has to be reported, the NAR bylaws through the arbitration and discipline manual identifies these things. So they expanded that public trust definition to include discrimination. However, what has to be reported has to be real estate related. So if somebody, like in the case of the person that was saying all those things about the protesters, that doesn't fall within the realm of a real estate transaction or real estate related activity. So the association wouldn't necessarily have to report it to an agency like the Department of Real Estate or Department of Fair Employment and Housing, although they could. If they feel it's egregious enough, they can. It's their option. Now, whether a board would decide to do that, I don't know. That would probably be something that might even go to the association's board of directors to determine if that was an appropriate action. So hopefully I got all of those details right, because it's something that we don't really talk about. We know that if you do certain things, if you're violating license law, then, and there's a complaint filed against you at the association, it's up to that hearing panel to determine whether, this needs to be escalated up to the DRE, because otherwise the DRE might not know about it. But there are some guidelines on how or which of those issues are reported, which I didn't realize.
Wow. Lots of stuff going on out there. Lots of stuff on the professional standards side of things. And it's just really, hey folks, clean up your act out there. If you're out trolling around and being a jerk, don't be a jerk. It's good advice no matter what. Just don't be a jerk.
I agree with that.
But there's something I forgot. that was a big topic of conversation at CAR and will be probably even a bigger topic of conversation at NAR.
What's that?
And that's the MLS
Oh,
and clear cooperation and all of the fun and games going on with that. And I know we've talked about that before. One thing that I think is really interesting is, I'm sure the bulk of the people here are all on MLS as we are, which is CRMLS. You may be on, different ones, maybe Claw or whatever, but, you're still reciprocal with CRMLS. So, we think what CRMLS is doing is like the rule. This is the rule, and this is how everything needs to be followed. Well, it kind of is how all of the MLSs are kind of doing their own things regarding the rules for clear cooperation when it comes to coming soons. And the coming soon are a huge problem. We've talked about it here. We've talked about getting people in from CRMLS to talk. I think that'll be really good to get somebody in after NAR, because this is something, kind of like a grand experiment. I mean, how long has this been going on? For like a year?
It's exactly a year. It rolled out the first week of May last year. It went live the first week of May last year.
Yeah. And, nobody, we all expect perfection, but, nothing's ever going to be perfect. And I didn't realize that some MLS is allowing people to show homes while it's coming soon. It's like, then a coming soon is basically an active, but you're not counting the days.
Yeah, I did not understand that, because, like you said, we follow CRMLS's rules, and they're the rules that we as subscribers to them are required to follow. If you're a member of multiple MLSs, and there are a lot of areas where they have smaller MLSs that each area has their own, so you're a member of multiple. I mean, having to remember all the different rules, I don't even know how you keep track of that.
Yeah, and it's just ridiculous. That's all I can say is like we have the status that we can do everything except let somebody in a house, unless we're at these other MLSs where we can let somebody in a house. And I don't know about everybody in the group, but it causes me great frustration. My clients see it. I want to see the house. And it's like, well, we can't go see it for a week and a half. And it's like, okay. And then all of a sudden it goes live and we've missed it because we have it on the calendar that it's going to go live in a week and a half. Or worse yet, it's showing it's coming soon and then it goes pending. Yeah. And the fact that a large brokerage can want to do with this coming soon listing within their own brokerage of, some brokerages, thousands of agents and thousands of agents. It's okay. They can all do whatever, but then an independent company or independent brokers, we're out. There's nothing we can do. I mean, it's clearly, in my opinion, showing favoritism to the large brokerages, to the detriment of people that own independents or smaller companies. Even if you have a company where you have 45 agents, you're no match for the one that's got 2,000, and it's just really kind of an interesting situation out there that it's goofy all over California. So how goofy is it going to be when nationwide we get everybody back into the room and have this discussion on how this works?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing it, because I'm on the risk management committee for NAR, and earlier this year, a month or so ago, 6 weeks ago, we were asked the question, how is it working in your area? And so the compilation of notes that I was able to see initially pretty much showed that there's just too many inconsistencies, and it's not helping. So, you multiply that across the entire country, knowing that it's really not working well. It'll be interesting to figure out, okay, so how do we reel this back in and make it work, and still achieve the cooperation that we were looking for? So it'll be interesting. Yeah, I'm looking forward. I have to look to see what day that MLS meeting is on.
Friday, May 7th. That is, I've got some dates here. I was looking at some notes that somebody sent me regarding the California MLS committee notes. And I haven't really read them over. They're a little cryptic. So, I'm not going to share them here in the group because, well, I don't even know what I'd be saying. Golly gee, why would I let that stop me, huh? But it should be really interesting. I think we'll have a good report for you, once we start hearing on a national front, because this was a national thing that came down. So we're going to see what happens with that. Plus, we have the whole DOJ settlement thing, which I haven't really heard a lot of talk about. That sooner or later that's going to hit. So again, we got a lot of stuff in the pipe, a lot of stuff that's going to be coming up sooner or later. And just stay tuned. That's really all I can say. But it's being addressed. I'm looking at comments here. Pam said, they call the buyers call the listing agents dual agency is the problem. I think by allowing the information onto the, I guess into the IDX, because that's where a lot of the big names are getting, the coming soon information, it does get very confusing for the consumers that are out there. And yeah, it's a weird situation. And John Valdez says Northern California seems to be having the biggest issues with coming soon. And I think that was where we were hearing about they were letting people show the coming soons.
Yeah. It didn't sound like it was anything local. I don't remember it specifically, but that isn't quite affecting our marketplace.
Now, were you in risk management when they were doing like the regional roll call with the problems? What was the craziest thing you heard?
I have to look through my notes.
Usually there's something that somebody says that you're like, wait a second, what?
Yeah, I don't know if there was anything that made me go, this time. A couple of them reported people taking up appointments and then not canceling them and not showing up. So that was just rude. Or showing up without an appointment and asking the agent that was leaving if they could have the key.
Yeah, that happens quite a bit. That happens quite a bit. I mean, I saw a lot of that past couple of weeks showing property. It's just like, okay, number one, how many of us have an appointment scheduled for 1 o'clock? That's always fun. Where it's like, oh, they didn't use that thing in showing time saying, only one party gets that slot, which that makes for very uncomfortable moments. And the guy who came out of the house that had the 1 o'clock meeting but got there 30 seconds before me, walks up and hands me the key and says, here you go. And I'm like, thank you. And of course, were there disinfectant wipes anywhere? Absolutely not. But that's fun. And speaking of showing time, what did you find anything?
Yeah, there was one comment that I wrote down. Somebody reporting, the concern that with how our market is right now and all of these different rules surrounding tenant rights, and then we also have Prop 19, that more and more agents are practicing law because they're giving advice, and even they're drafting language into the contracts or addendums that could technically be considered practicing law. So that person was suggesting, and I agree, we could see some legal issues come out of that down the road. And so we need to figure out how to stay in our lane and not practice law and not practice, give tax advice. So that was it. The rest, it's all kind of stuff we've been talking about. I mean, the fact that a year later, so many people still reported problems with the PED form, it just blows my mind. Like, how is this still a problem? How do people still not know what to do?
Yeah, that's really crazy when you think about it. But then again, wasn't the last meeting in February and somebody was talking about, uh, it was like, wait a second, how have you guys been functioning? You know, with not knowing what to do with the PED form. I mean, to me, it's second nature. And actually, kind of the crazy thing I like about it is you're technically registering your clients for every house that you show them. And so what a great record that you have for every property you show that buyer. So if you got like a little procuring cause situation, you got one more little handy thing in your arsenal to say, oh, look, I showed him this house and I sent you a copy.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's one thing I can't believe I'm going to say this, is one thing I kind of hope doesn't really disappear, just because of the basically the automatic registration, because Lord knows I wasn't that good about it. Like, oh yeah, sure, I know what I showed him. Is like, no, I didn't have the date, didn't have all the addresses together, didn't have signatures, didn't have emails to prove that I sent them to the listing agent. So, hopefully it's kind of a upside to a stinky little situation. But, and
Yeah.
speaking of stinky situations, I'm going to go back to the glide and the showing time things, because we've seen a lot of anger, a lot of upset agents that are like, I'm gonna quit using, blah, 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 and it's like, yeah, I can understand, but I think everybody's kind of forgetting these sales have not been consummated yet. They're still going through all their channels to see if they're going to be violating any antitrust and all of this stuff. And, you know, the panic that I think went into, oh my God, Glide just got purchased. I'm going to quit using them today. I'm not going to say, don't use them or do use them, but just realize that they're attempting to acquire. They haven't acquired them yet. And if, I don't think the company that's going to be acquiring Glide is going to have access to the information that Glide has until the acquisition is done. So, it's just kind of like, yeah, is this big crazy news? Absolutely. Is it anything to panic about right now? No, I don't. I mean, the showing time acquisition hasn't been finalized yet, has it?
I don't even know.
I mean, I Googled it the other day. I haven't seen anything on it. Just know that CRMLS is looking for a replacement. And I know up in LA, a lot of agents use Calendly as their showing software. And they say it works really good. So, I mean, if you're adamant against, using showing time, the sad thing is, I didn't use showing time for years. And then COVID happens and it's like, wow, this is really cool.
I know, it's amazing. There was so little adoption in California, and I had a conversation with somebody who was a broker in another state who moved to California and said, why aren't you guys using this here? And, assumed that it would be more widely used in California than the state he was from. And yet I said, nope, nobody wants to use it. In fact, if you use it, it goes ignored, because to find a buyer's agent who uses it and a listing agent who uses it, making that match was nearly impossible because the adoption was so low. So, and I think it's a good point that we, these are not finalized yet, but also this is kind of the nature of our business. People get upset when agents are recruited away from them, yet, office managers' jobs are to do recruiting. So I can make the phone call and call on your agents, but how dare you call on mine? So that always sort of makes me chuckle that this industry, it's like we're so protective of what we are allowed to do, and heaven forbid anyone else have a business model that allows them to do the same thing. Hell, if I had enough money to buy Glide, I would buy Glide too, So we have to understand that it's a free market out there, and businesses are going to make business decisions. Oh God, I don't know what the closed caption is going to be on all those S's I just stuttered out.
I think I'm gonna watch here. are going to make business decisions.
Oh, good. It caught the stutter appropriately. Great.
And it's, that's really the important aspect of it. I mean, there's things about it that I am irritated. I'm just irritated about the timing of, this big push for using Glide as, back office software, transaction management, the adoption by the MLSs, the push for CAR to get members to be using Glide at the same time that Zip Forms is owned by Lone Wolf, who is probably going to be selling that as well. I mean, everything's up on the chopping block. And as long as we remember that these are not, I don't want to say not real estate companies, they're tech companies. These are tech companies selling tech. And we just happen to be going along for the ride on this. And I'm personally bothered by the timing of the transaction, because I'm sure the value of Glide went through the roof, getting, a state as large as ours commitment to be pushing it out there, to be purchased by a real estate brokerage. And yeah, I got problems with that. But I hadn't adopted Glide yet. If I was changing my office brokerage software and had just canned a system and just went on Glide, and I know a few companies out there did that, I'd be a little upset right about now. But you know what? It's tech being bought by tech that happens to do real estate, and that's kind of the way it goes. So
it's a dog eat dog world, and these companies need to show their value. And so they are getting the adoption, they're finding ways, dare I say, wheeling and dealing and finding their way to get the greater adoption, which gives them that higher valuation, which makes them marketable, which then they sell. And so the statement out of Rebs, which is the business arm under CAR that facilitated the push for Glide, they were blindsided by this. And so, please understand that the push from CAR to use it did not anticipate that Glide would market themselves to a company, or I don't know, maybe they didn't even market, maybe they were just approached. We don't know.
We have no idea, but the timing, the press release. Now, I guess people knew about it before. Some people had, but there wasn't an honest to God press release. And it came out at 1:00 during the member director forum at CAR, which started at 1:00. And somebody threw it in the comments and I was like, what?
Yeah.
And it was interesting because the person who threw it in the comments didn't get any reactions to the first time, and then threw it in the comments again, at which time the comment section was shut down.
Yeah.
I don't think CAR saw it coming.
Mm-hmm.
It was awkward. They had to come up with a statement at the last minute. It was the member director forum, so it's not like I'm breaking confidentiality. Anybody could have been in this forum and had seen it and heard it. But it was just, the timing was suspect. It is what it is. And if you want to use Glide, keep using Glide. I recommend that you look at the privacy statements for any of this software that you're using, any of these apps, because I hear it's changed, but if you read it like the Glide I was using before this all came down, it says that they have the ability to keep all of the information, including names, telephone numbers, emails, social security numbers. Now, I know we don't put our clients' social security numbers on anything. However, if you are one of these agents that are using Glide for your, let's say, rental applications, or you fill out a FERPTA with an honest to God social security number, guess what? You just gave your client's social security number to Glide, because it says it in their privacy statement that they're going to hold on to social security numbers. Now, I heard they changed it, Haven't confirmed it, but the one I read last Tuesday, I believe it was like, wow, I'm glad I don't put this information in forums. So just be careful out there, regardless what program you're using. Just know they're holding their information. I mean, I am sure this phone is recording everything that I say, and I'm gonna get some weird ads on here, I'm sure. You know, we are being tracked. We are being listened to, as much as people like to think that that's not happening. But we're giving information to all of these companies that can just take it and run with it. And so it's probably good that we all do a little, you know, wake up call privacy check, so we know where our clients' information is going, because that's whose information they're taking. It's not my personal information. It's my client's personal information.
Yeah, it's the cost of convenience, and you know, it's disturbing that the privacy pages are like 12 pages long, and so we know nobody reads them, and yet we easily accept the terms. I do it all the time. I don't have time to read their 12 pages, and it's like, especially if it is a product that is promoted by a trustworthy source, you know, I'm gonna rely on the fact that they've vetted it and accept what those privacy terms are. But I'm also really careful with putting other people's information on there. See, I don't put a lot of my information out online. I'm very, very private. But that doesn't mean it's not there, because there are other ways for it to get there. And whether it's by me, it could be by somebody else. I mean, I don't know how many times I'll get an email that says, okay, I mean, the worst one was when my medical insurance company sent an email, guess what? Your data may have been breached. Oh, great.
Well, and we had a really good presentation at the beginning of the Risk Management Forum by Josh Sharfman on personal computer security. That's probably the best way to put it, but it was far more interesting than that sounds. And I was in discussion with Orange County Realtor staff while that was going on, saying, I think this would make a really good risk management forum, just because of the information that was in there. So stay tuned, because I'm not sure what date we're going to do it, but we're going to do that, because it was just good information that you need to know regarding your passwords and you know, how you can find how many times you've been screwed over in the cyber world. You know, that have you been pwned, which I think that's what we're going to name it, the forum, because I just liked it. But I checked that website before. I had heard about it before then, and it's kind of scary. So, you know, there's ways that you can protect yourself, but just realize, you know, when you think your client's information is secure, it may not be. You know, I felt a little violated, but I know that I didn't give out any information that somebody couldn't find, you know, through any means, but we just need to be careful. So I'm going to read some of the comments real quick and see if it's anything that we can chat about here. Let's see. It says, why can CAR purchase some of these software companies like Glide? And then next statement was, CAR members would not be happy about their dues being spent on platforms that they didn't use. Well, Lori, you got kind of like a little inside track on that. I mean, zip forms. The history of zip forms was the California Association of Realtors owned product, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And it got to the point, you know, because CAR is not a tech company, in order to compete and improve the products, you either have to spend a lot on development or you sell it off to somebody who has the ability to do that. And so that's what was done. We basically sold it to NAR, to one of the divisions under NAR, and we're co-owners for a period of time. And then, you know, that the way that contract was set up, then at a certain point in time, we were no longer owners, but we had received a fair amount of money to be able to invest in other products, to hopefully do the same thing. So, you know, it would make sense for us as a organization to create what members need, but we don't have those kind of resources. You know, we talk about some of the large search platforms. How do we compete with them? Well, we can't. We have the data, but they have the money for the technology.
Yeah, and it's not to say that they're not trying, because NAR has a little incubator that they have, trying to look for the up and coming tech companies and nurture them along. And you know, sometimes it's a hit, but most of the time it's a miss. And it's interesting because I sit on the CRMLS product focus group. And it's amazing how many things are presented, and we're sitting there as you know, practitioners looking at it, no, you know, because everybody figures we're an easy industry for them to come up with a, you know, a tech product of some sort of app or something. And you know, there's people out there trying to build a better mousetrap every single day. And so it's the one thing that I want everybody to know is, yeah, Glide got purchased or is in the process of being purchased. Yeah, Showing Time got purchased. It's not to say that a better mousetrap isn't being built and will come along shortly, because one of the complaints on Showing Time, I was listening to a podcast, a real estate podcast the other morning, and they said, you know, the reason that they thought, this group of agents thought that the lack of adoption is it looked like an old-timey website. It had a more technical term for it, as some sort of geo site, where it's not all pretty, you know, like, you know, Glide is pretty. That's why we like Glide. Glide is pretty and it does things. You know, Zip Forms does things. Is it as pretty? No. Is it as, you know, handy in other ways? No. But it does the same function. We just like the pretty one. It's a little easier. So on Showing Time, somebody's going to come up with a pretty one that's a little easier. And that's why Calendly gets used a lot, because Calendly is very pretty. It's a very pretty app. So it's kind of strange that we like pretty, but we like pretty. And, you know, that's something that we hear complaints about all the time with, you know, MLS data to be able to send to our clients. Well, I don't like this because it's not pretty enough. I can get prettier stuff over here. Is it good information? Yeah, but is it, you know, make you feel good when you're looking at it? Not so much. So hopefully Showing Time, something will come to replace that. And before CRMLS does anything, they're going to run it by this focus group, because they already ran one by us and we're like, nope, it's pretty, but it doesn't function.
So, it doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work so well. So we're actively looking for something. I'm sure there's building something better than Glide, because when you've got it in front of you, you can reverse engineer it and say, what can we do to make this better? Let's make a better, you know, build a better mousetrap. So I think we're probably going to see some things coming out soon. So stay tuned. That's about all we can do with that. And I just found out, Jeff just posted something in the chat that I guess my sign's being used for an article in the Orange County Register.
Oh, wow.
I guess I'm going to have to read this, and yay, free publicity. That's what happens when you know reporters.
Yeah, it always kind of cracks me up when you see news clips and they will interview an agent, but then they'll show a sign from a different agent.
Well, it just depends on which ones of us have made it into the stock photo file. And it appears that I have done that again.
Right.
So I'll have to go see what it's attached to, because I have no idea.
Yeah, hopefully it's something good. Sure it is.
US pending home sales, ... So we'll have to see. Maybe it was written by our friends, either John Lansner or Jeff Collins, and see, you know, I'll have to send him a little thank you note for including my sign in there.
Nice.
Well, it's 4 minutes after 10. Do we have anything else that we wish to discuss for the good of the order? I can't get myself out of meeting mode.
No, I think we covered quite a bit.
I think we did. So I don't know exactly what my meeting schedule is for next week, whether Monday is or not. Do you know if your Monday's open?
I have not plugged in anything into my calendar beyond CAR. So I know I have nothing else from NAR today that I need to attend, but actually, I do think I have a conflict because my risk management meeting is on the 10th, but I don't remember what time. I have that on my calendar, actually. Let me check.
Yeah, actually too, mine might be, I hope that maybe, if you're interested, you guys can always hop on and see all the wacky stuff we're doing. Okay, everybody coordinate their calendars.
My risk management meeting starts at 9:30 on Monday. So.
And my leading edge advisory board starts at 8 a.m. and runs till 10.
So I think we may skip.
I think we just might. I'm sorry, guys, because this was fun. I like getting caught up after the meetings. We have a lot of good information going around in our heads. And, we'll see what we can come up with. You can also catch us on Clubhouse 3:30 on Tuesdays, unless there's conflicts there too. We get a little bit more economically wonky on that, I'd say. Usually it's Lori and I and Logan Motashami who's going to tell us about the latest thing that he wrote for Housing Wire. It's a good place to get caught up on what's affecting the industry economically and to get you straight on the issues of forbearances and how this is going to affect your clients, which is probably it's not going to, because there really isn't going to be a wave of foreclosures. But we always have to kind of defeat that misinformation out there. And that was one thing I wanted to cover today. And I couldn't because, well, we didn't have time because we had more important things to talk about.
We probably could have squeezed it in.
Yeah, but join us tomorrow if you got an iPhone. I hear you Android users are a little ways off, but you're coming close. And we just have a chat about that. And, maybe once we get some more time, we can kind of cover this there too. But we tried the simulcast, but that wasn't really an easy thing to do.
No.
We tried. But anyhow, on that note, everybody have a good day. Go out there, be careful what you say on social media, and go out and sell a house. Talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.